Welcome in, everybody, to the IDP Plus Mailbag Show. Welcome to day 2 of free agency. How you doing, Joe?
I am doing well. I am exhausted after the whirlwind of the last 24 plus hours, but it's been fun. How are you?
Oh, good. Glad we get some breaking IDP news to talk about here. For those who didn't see it, let's just hop right into it.
Great.
First off, if you see below, whatever side it is, this side, and Joe's is over here. That's where we're at on X. Yeah, it's the opposite from what I was expecting. I'm not used to doing that. So, but check us out. Go hop on the IDP Plus website. Get on our Discord server. Sign up. Get access to all sorts of great writers. Joe and I both on there. A whole bunch of other people. And ask us questions. So, let's dive into the one question.
But first, also want to real quick. Let's throw out a thank you to Nate and Michael Sicoli for taking over for us last week. Schedule-wise, both of us, or neither of us, could be here. So thank you to you guys for jumping in and crushing it.
Good call.
Almost forgot.
Absolutely. No, well worth it. Appreciate them. Sorry, my dogs are going to be noisy and obnoxious.
Just psyched for free agency. Psyched for this news.
Apparently. So we had one big question, and then we're just going to hop on to free agency and just run through. There's been a lot of news, so our show doc is quite long today. So the big question, someone asked, at 201, or would we draft a running back at 201 or trade it for an established running back? He's ready to compete at every position but running back. And that's courtesy of at Justin S. Mutek 8541 on YouTube, I believe. He specifically mentioned Henry and Jacobs. So today is, when you sent it in, it would have been a great time to buy them. Today is not the day to buy them, and wait until you're on the clock in your rookie draft and then buy them, because the price on these running backs will go down, specifically Henry on Baltimore, because I would expect they still probably draft someone. Jacobs, that ship might have sailed, but personally, we'll get into it. I like the deal. I don't love the deal because the Packers don't guarantee anything past the first year. So he's kind of running year to year at this point. What about you?
Yeah, if you could give 201 for Josh Jacobs right now, I would smash that deal, especially as a contender. I think he's going to be great this year. And if you're ready to compete, I think giving the 13th pick for 1 year of a potential top 5 running back is worth it. Derrick Henry, I could see it. I don't love giving it like 201 for him, but again, if you need a running back to go for a chip, I get it. It's fine. But
it doesn't say
I agree with what you said.
It doesn't say one quarterback or super flex, which would change it a little bit for me too.
Yeah.
Obviously, the pick's a little more valuable in a super flex versus a one quarterback league.
In a one quarterback league, I would trade 201 for Adam Start, guys in a heartbeat as a contender.
Exactly. Yeah.
In a super flex, I still would for Jacobs, but Henry, don't know if I would as much.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you, Justin, for that question. Not you, Justin, our other Justin. But
all right.
Let's get into free agency, I guess.
All right. Let's start on the IDP side with the heavy hitters, edge. So the biggest name here that changed position or changed teams was not via free agency because Danielle Hunter has not signed yet. But Brian Burns got traded yesterday to the Giants for, 2 and a 5?
Yep, 38 and whatever their 5th rounder is. Giants basically traded Leonard Williams for Brian Burns.
And then paid him $150 million, which, to be honest, I'll get into a rant when we get to running backs in a little bit, but it's good for Burns and good for the Giants to not just blow money unnecessarily on less than ideal talent. So might hurt their ability to trade up for a quarterback. We'll see. It's kind of neutral for Burns. I actually like it more for Kayvon Thibodeau. And I have no idea what's going to happen in Carolina because that defense is getting torn down, so they can see what's going to happen with Bryce Young.
Yeah, I love it for Burns. It's great for Kayvon Thibodeau. Get a real rusher on the other side of him. He doesn't have to be the one, so it'll be fun. But love that.
See, why do you think it helps Burns? Just curious.
No, helps Thibodeau to have
okay.
to have
I thought you said
like an established one.
Okay, I thought you said it was stock up for Burns. That's why I was like, to me, really, it's a neutral because he really doesn't. It doesn't. I mean, I guess having the Dexter Lawrence there probably helps more than anything.
Yeah, I would say stock up. Also, how we talked about a couple weeks ago when did say he was kind of a buy low. Just the Giants aren't going to be as bad as the Panthers were this year in all likelihood. So that gives him a little more opportunity. He's going to be in a better spot, but better mental space. So I think it's stock up, but I wouldn't say like absolute insanity stock up. I would say I feel better about him.
I say most people view him as like a top 10 dynasty edge rusher anyway. So
yeah,
I don't see how he jumps a ton, but it should.
I know. I have a lot of shares of him. I feel significantly better about those shares right now than I was a little scared. Than last week.
Yeah. Someone else you want to hit on in this group? I've got a couple I could bring up that are interesting.
Yeah. Let's hit Danico Autry is another one I want to touch on. Now really almost finishing the AFC South gauntlet, now going to the Texans. Great fit with D'Amico Ryan's defense. Versatile inside-outside rusher. I think it's a fun fit. I don't think it's huge money, especially I know in a lot of leagues, MFL, sorry, he has D-tackle versatility in some leagues, so that is huge, especially if he can get close to double-digit sacks again. That's not a huge name, but then Jonathan Grenard leaving the Texans to the Vikings is a very fun fit.
Yeah, him and Van Ginkel pairing there is going to be good overall for the two of them. I think it actually probably hurts a little bit their linebacker signing, who we'll get to in a little bit, as well as Josh Metellus, because I don't expect the Vikings to need to blitz as much to generate pressure as they did in 2023. I think they're going to be able to get home with their 4 down linemen a little more often and therefore blitz less. If that makes sense.
Potentially. It is Brian Flores, though, so we'll see.
I mean, yeah, he's still going to mix coverages, but he had to blitz to generate pressure before. Now he doesn't have to necessarily anymore because those two can get to the quarterback.
Mm-hmm. It'll be interesting. I think it's good. And then DJ Wonham is a free agent as well, right? And has not re-signed with them.
Yep. Well, not yet.
Yeah.
A couple I want to highlight. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. The one other really big name, big contract, Bryce Huff. Big deal with the Eagles.
I'll be honest, that made no sense to me.
Yeah, I don't.
Dude's never played more than 50% of snaps in a season, and you're going to give him that kind of a contract? What are we doing here?
Max Crosby played as many snaps this year as Bryce Huff has in his entire career. Or like Crosby, I think, played 150 less snaps than Huff has in his career.
Like, I legitimately don't know if he can play the run at a high level.
And the biggest thing with the Eagles with their rushers is that they're
small.
Yeah. Like the biggest thing with that they're having issues with Hassan Reddick is that he can't play the run. So, and with Sweat too having some issues there, so they replace them or potentially replace them with another guy who can't play the run.
They're both on the block, but as teams' money dries up, are they really going to be able to trade either one of them? I mean, I could see one of them going to Atlanta for like a second-round pick. That would make a lot of sense to me right now. But
yeah, I don't know. And they have Nolan Smith, who great against the run, but also undersized. So It's weird. It's really weird.
The last guy I really want to touch on is Dorrance Armstrong. So he was, unlike Huff, I don't think he got overpaid for what he was. And he was pretty good in Dallas. And then he follows Quinn to a pretty open depth chart in Washington. So if you're looking for kind of a sleeper pickup trade candidate, throw-in guy in a deeper league, I could see him having a reasonably good year in a bigger role potentially.
Yeah, I agree.
Just kind of
I do like Dorrance Armstrong, and they signed another edge as well, Cleveland Furl. Interesting fit.
Yeah.
And San Francisco signed a couple more speed rushers, and
Floyd's interesting. I don't get it with Yetur Gross-Matos.
He turned it on a lot this year, and then got hurt. So
Shaq Barrett to Miami is a little interesting just because those guys get hurt a lot. So I'll be curious to see when all three are healthy what that kind of rotation looks like.
Yeah, and then Marcus Davenport to Detroit. I think, like with Minnesota this year, upside shot. I think he's worth a buy. Across from Aiden Hutchinson could be awesome unless he gets hurt again, which he probably will.
So with that, let's hop on down D-tackle. So there were two returning guys that were kind of big news. Leonard Williams went back to Seattle. Grover Stewart back to Indianapolis. It's good for their
for
teams.
$130 million a year. You saw that Spotrac mess up. They had an extra zero in his salary at first. I was like, wait, what?
I thought you. I thought I was having internet issues there for a sec.
Nope, you're good. Yeah.
So with that, we'll get to the big name, Christian Wilkins to Vegas.
Love it.
Yeah, I think it's stock up for Wilkins. I mean, Crosby's stock doesn't have much up to go, but I mean, definitely doesn't hurt him to have someone you have to probably double next to him. Then, I mean, it really helps. I'm blanking on Tyree Wilson.
Tyree Wilson.
So that's gonna be fun.
Honestly, if anything, it might hurt Crosby for fantasy purposes. I don't think he's gonna play 99% of snaps anymore. I don't think they'll need him to, but I don't think it hurts him. But yeah, his stock can't go up. He's already DE1, so.
Yeah,
I think it's great for them for real football. So
it was a lot of money for real football, but
a lot of money. He's awesome though.
Yeah. Linebacker. So the breaking news that we hit on at the top of the show, we didn't actually bring up Patrick Queen. Just signed on with the Steelers. Everyone's joining their rivals, it seems like. Hopping across that rivalry, 3 years, $41 million. Honestly, it was lighter than I was expecting. He didn't go that far above some of these other linebackers.
I think it's a really good deal. I was very much expecting him to get like a Tremaine Edmonds sort of overpay, but I think that's a good deal overall.
Yeah, I wonder if he took the best deal necessarily, because I was seeing Panthers and Seahawks, then some speculation on the Steelers, and then all of a sudden the Steelers got him, which, I mean, that is the team I wanted him on as a recently new Patrick Queen manager. So
Yep, that was a good deal for you.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. He should fill in admirably in that role that Landon Roberts locked down at the end of last year, which led to double-digit tackles a lot.
It did. It's a good role, and he's the best linebacker they've had since a long time.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can't even think of
James Ferrier.
Yeah, exactly. It was like who they were trying to get when they drafted. Who they were trying to get when they drafted Devin Bush.
Yeah. Another linebacker. This is my favorite signing so far. Is Azeez Al-Shaair to the Texans. He was a great fit with D'Amico in San Francisco. Came off a great year in Tennessee, and linebacker 1 there now. Also love it for Christian Harris. So think it seems like Harris, now that another linebacker who I think Justin's going to hit on next, now that he's gone, I think those two are going to be running the show. And I really love that. And as a common Aziz Al-Shaair fantasy manager, I'm very happy. It makes all the Christian Harris stocks I sold last year hurt less. What's up, Mr. Bakes a Lot? How's it going? Thanks for jumping in.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm actually going to hop down to Miami, who doesn't have a ton of money to spend, but they brought in Jordan Brooks.
Yeah, I was really surprised by that.
I didn't realize they would spend that kind of money. I was kind of hoping, goodness, the Georgia kid would get a shot finally.
Oh, Tyndall?
Yeah, but it doesn't seem like it. It seems like they're just out on him. Jordan Brooks and Anthony Walker going there is a good pairing.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think it helps Brooks overall to be there. He should be able to hop there. Mr. Bakes a Lot, we will hop to your question here in a little bit. Maybe let's do it when we finish up linebackers, because we might have a little bit before we get to running backs.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah. Who do you want to hit on next? There's pretty much most of these are pretty interesting.
Yeah. We talked Drew Tranquil back to Kansas City. Another bigger signing was Frankie Louvu to Washington, which it's a weird fit with Dan Quinn's defense. Louvu's very much a blitzing sort of type, and that's not really what Dan Quinn does.
He's there to seal up their coverage woes. That's what he's there to be their coverage linebacker, which Jamin Davis was poorly cast as last year.
Yeah, and Louvu's not great at that either, though. It's a weird. They're moving Davis more.
I thought PFF tried him like super high as a coverage linebacker.
He's solid there, but he's best as a blitzer, which is what they're going to use Jamin as. I just think it's kind of a weird fit. I'm not saying it's bad, but it's interesting.
You're not going to get 2022 Louvu. You're going to get 2023 Louvu all over again.
Yeah. Yep.
Which I'm fine with. Just knowing that going in, that's kind of what to expect. Speaking of blitzing, Cashman on the Vikes, like I was saying, I don't think they're going to blitz as much. So I like Cashman there. They do only run one linebacker though, so I was really hoping Ivan Pace would get a shot. It doesn't seem that way based on the money they're giving Cashman.
Yeah. We'll see. Maybe if they're blitzing less, or maybe since Cashman's a great blitzer, maybe they switch it to more of a 3-2-5, 3-3-5, sorry, or 4-2-5 sort of deal. And 4-2-5 is what I was going for, and more blitz him than just in somewhere else. But we'll see. I wouldn't drop Ivan Pace yet, but
you don't see coaches change the scheme that much typically. So we'll see.
Not scheme as much as like where it comes from. And I mean, that's what Flores has done a lot, is things look different all the time. I mean, Josh Metellus played D tackle a couple times this year, so we'll see. I think it could be interesting. Don't drop Pace, but if someone wants to buy him from you, I would be willing to sell him. I think is really the moral there. Would you agree?
Yeah. I was trying to buy him earlier this offseason, so I'm glad that manager kept telling me no.
Yep. Then I think
Kenneth Murray. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. That's what I was just going to bring up.
Yeah, Kenneth Murray on the Titans. I like this one, to be honest. I know you're probably not as big of a
bad.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, he's just not good. I don't know. He had some games with the Chargers this year and then really fell off, even as the only linebacker. And it's weird.
I mean, I would expect them to draft one probably in the third or fourth round. Everyone says it's a weak class, but I kind of like the top 5 to 6. I loved the Drew Tranquil signing back in KC. Willie Gay is not coming back, I would anticipate at this point. They haven't said that, but I would anticipate a consolidation of Tranquil and Gay's roles. So I pulled it up. The last couple playoff games go to the Super Bowl. I think it was something like 100% Bolton snaps, 70-ish% Tranquil snaps, and 30% Chanel snaps. I don't. I think Tranquils would tick up a little bit from there, but I'm guessing it's something like 100-ish% for Bolton and 80% for Tranquil. So I think both of them. I mean, Bolton's going to bounce back up into the top 5. Tranquil should be a decent linebacker too, I would think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what was the deal for? Actually, I'll look that up.
3 years.
Remember how many was it? 3? Yeah.
Let's see who else there. Jordan Hicks should be a pretty good linebacker too in Cleveland as well. I think that was relatively cheap. I know he's getting up there, but he's a good fit next to JOK. He's a good might keep him on the JOK on the weak side. It's the type of move that they needed to make. I saw a bunch of their fans saying that they wanted to get Queen, but I never thought they had space for that.
No, and Schwartz doesn't need a crazy linebacker like that. So
yeah, Taki to New England. That's just a backup. He's there to replace Mac Wilson, who went to Arizona, which could be an interesting one as an athletic linebacker. They don't have much there. He's a deeper name that I'm monitoring what Arizona does because I do think they should draft one. But just a deep name that maybe he has some relevance in the 24 season. Before we hop down to safety, we had a question from Mr. Bakes-a-Lot. Oh. Would you guys sell Pollard for Spears Plus right now? Depends a little bit on situation. I believe Pollard's going to be the lead back based on the money they gave him. And Spears is going to play more than he did with Henry, but it'll still be annoying. I don't super want to do it within the same team like that. Like I'd rather sell. If I'm rebuilding, I would do that trade, Pollard for Spears Plus. But I mean, I haven't seen Pollard's guarantees, but I'm guessing he's probably there for 2 years. If I were trying to win now, I would probably try to trade Pollard to the Singletary manager for Singletary Plus, if I can get that, because I think he's going to have a bigger role for the Giants than Pollard or Spears will for the Titans, and I'm not sure which offense is better.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of agree. I think in a vacuum, I'd rather take the shot on Spears. Less of a known quantity, I guess, but not super moved either way.
Yeah, I listed him as a sell, which
you nailed that one.
Honestly, Spears is a buy. Like I am willing to buy him, but I don't want to pay a ton because they basically just he had the backfield to himself, and they said we need to go sign Tony Pollard to $8 million a year. So they can say what they want at the combine. They are clearly saying we don't think he's a bell cow, and I never thought he would be. So if the Spears manager is willing to sell, I'm willing to buy because you basically have Jalen Warren that you're buying. That archetype of running back is essentially what you're buying. 40% catch the ball, explosive playmaker type, but on a poor offense. And when they sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say a little pat on the back for us for nailing the Spears sell and the Brian Burns about to get traded stuff. So,
yeah,
go us.
Absolutely. Let's hit on his other question. He just so first off, Hawkinson injury, not interested, not touching him in a redraft league this year. Don't care what the reports are when camp comes around. In Dynasty, I'm willing to buy him if I'm not trying to compete this year. If I am, I'm not super interested. And I'll take Andrews over Pitts.
Yeah.
I like Pitts, but he's still a bad blocker. So he's essentially just a big wide receiver. And I do think they will cater that offense more to him, but I expect London to see all the volume, and the Mooney signing today honestly does take some volume away from Pitts, I would expect. And Bijan's such a good underneath guy. You've got your over the top guy, you've got your underneath guy. I'm just not sure exactly how Pitts fits in, which is typically it's a good time to buy, but today is not the day to buy Kyle Pitts either with the Kirk Cousins news.
Very true. Yep. I have nothing to add to that.
I'd be willing to buy Andrews though off the Derrick Henry news, because I think people will forget just how big of a piece of that offense he is. And Odell Beckham's due to get cut within the next 2 days before his like $10 million roster bonus comes due on like Thursday, something like that. There's a incentive to cut Odell here in the next day or two.
Yeah.
And with that, seeing no other questions, let's hop to safeties. Big name, Xavier McKinney went to the Giants for a lot of money. Was it 4 years
for 68
a year? Sorry.
Yeah, 4 years, 68 mil. 4 years, 68 mil. I want to say. Yeah.
Yeah, so like 17
25
a year.
guaranteed.
That's the franchise tag number. So I was shocked to see him get that for 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also really curious. I honestly don't know what it hurts his IDP value, but I don't think it helps it. Xavier McKinney is at his best as the deep safety, and I am very curious how the Packers plan to use him. I would like to see them draft in the second round Nubin, because I think those two can be a little interchangeable, and you could see them both kind of 50-50 deep and box. But what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I have it in here for how McKinney snaps broke down last year. 42% deep, 35% box, 22% slot. I know that doesn't add up to 100 decimals, but if it's something like that, I'll be very content if they do get a Nubin. Now, if they drafted Jaden Hicks, who's purely a box safety, I'm a little more worried. But I do think with his coverage ability, he's still going to be usable in the safety spot, and that he is a good cover man. I think he's going to get a lot more slot work, but yeah, it's not huge stock up, like you said, not stock down. I think it's just we knew he was going to have a starting role somewhere. But Green Bay's a good role, and he's the guy. They're not safety, so.
Ideally, he would have landed with a good free safety, but now if they were to go sign, Juan Thornhill, the name I was trying to come up with, for a cheaper 1 year or 2 year deal, that would then have me interested in McKinney. If you go
or draft like Cole Bishop from Utah.
Yeah, go Kalen Bullock from USC, or Javon Bullard from Georgia, those types of guys that are much better in the deep role. Yeah, now I'm interested in McKinney. But if you like him, he's worth a buy. With that kind of money, I would want to play him in the box if I were them, not deep. I think deep's a little easier to find, but it's interesting.
Yeah, I just bought him in one of our leagues and feel good about it. Could have felt better about it, but
like if they'd signed Geno Stone, who went to Cincinnati from Baltimore, speaking of cheap free safeties, this one confused me a little bit. So this one's going to be interesting to watch play out, because last year Dax Hill and Jordan Battle both played really well, and they were a little interchangeable. You add a third safety to that mix that's a really good deep safety that you're signing in free agency. You're assuming you're going to play him. It's like a reasonable amount of money to sign him. So if you play him deep, I assume they're converting Dax back to cornerback, or they're going to play one of them in like a big nickel type package, which would be really good for whoever is that slot cornerback. Which I would assume goes to Dax, right? Like he's the one that's got the corner history. He played corner at Michigan, if I remember right. Something.
Yeah, he was mostly a corner there. I think slot. But looking at it, their current slot corner is Mike Hilton, and if they were to cut him, that's his post pre or post June 1, they save $6.5 million towards the cap. So I would assume that happens in the next couple days if they can't find a trade. And then if that does happen, then it becomes a lot more clear where Dax will move down to the slot, then Stone and Battle as the deep and box safeties respectively.
Yeah. So if this happens, that's how they play it, I think it's stock up for Dax and for Battle, honestly, which is really interesting because they kind of rotate it a little bit. So that one, I was a little apprehensive specifically on Dax because Battle kind of took his lunch money last year. So
Chase Young, just seeing from Pelissero, is visiting the Panthers and the Saints this week.
Panthers would make a lot of sense since they have nobody else.
Yep.
The Saints have no money.
Saints would be interesting.
So let's hop to
another safety, Kevin Byard. What do you think there?
I mean, it's a great deal for the Bears to probably get a better safety for less money. Honestly, and what do you think?
I like it. I think he's going to be more deep safety as he has been, and with Brisker, but I still like it. It makes sense. Other safety name to mention: Darnell Savage signed a decent deal in Jacksonville. Meh. I think he's going to be more. We'll see what he's used as. It's weird with him and Andre Cisco, both more cover guys.
Yeah, a couple early ones that went. Taylor Rapp, I tweeted about this one. I really like this deal for Rapp's IDP value. I think he's going to be a name to monitor because right now, I mean, the Bills still are way over the cap. Even with the Josh Allen contract conversion, I think they're still trying to
$800,000 under the cap.
Oh, okay. So they're just under. So no money to spend, and they still have to cut in order to get their draft picks signed. So once they go through the draft, Rapp probably with the money he got is their starting strong safety because he's not a free safety. I would expect Damar Hamlin to be the free safety as it is right now. They're a little interchangeable, but you want Rapp close to the line of scrimmage. I mean, honestly, Hamlin was better there too, but.
Did Micah Hyde get cut? Is he getting cut?
Hyde and Poyer are both gone.
Hyde is too? Okay.
Yep. I think one of them was a free agent. One of them got cut. I don't remember which was which.
Gotcha.
But yeah, they're both gone. Which I don't blame the Bills. I mean, if you can't stop Patrick Mahomes with no weapons, quote unquote, no weapons. I say that a little tongue in cheek because this was the year to get him. But if you can't stop him with your vets, you might as well just get rid of them and put money on offense so you have a better offense.
And then do you want to hit on your guy, PJ Locke?
Yeah, so this one was interesting to me because the Broncos have no cap. Well, they actually have $20 million now, even with Locke and Brandon Jones, who left Miami to come there. That's a weird fit with the two of them together because I actually think both of them are better close to the line of scrimmage. So, like your note in here, the alignment will be interesting. But the thing is Locke played next to Simmons last year, who was better in the box too. So I do think and he took, Kareem Jackson's role, which was the deep safety anyway, because he was a converted corner. So I do think that it's good news for both of them, honestly. That scheme seems to have the ability to kind of support both, especially since they really have no linebackers. I think Josie Jewell's a free agent. Singleton's back, and they're playing Drew Sanders at the edge. Yeah, so they need another linebacker. So that's a spot I had circled for somebody to go there and be an interesting name. But they haven't done anything yet, so maybe they'll address it in the draft. What about you? What are you thinking?
Yeah, very similar to what you were saying there. Brandon Jones is injured a lot, so that kind of makes me think they would play him farther away from the ball, maybe. I don't know. Less train wrecks. Really, for me, it just says that Caden Stearns isn't ready to be the guy, whether due to health and experience. So
I was hoping JL Skinner might get a shot. Dude,
Or Skinner. Always forget he's there. I don't know why.
yeah, he fell so much in the draft last year. He was someone I really loved, and then we went the 6th round. I mean, 6'4", 220 and moves that well is hard to find. So,
Mhm.
but that's it for safeties. Corners, there's not a ton. Like, yes, there's been some movement. Carlton Davis getting traded to Detroit was a great deal for Detroit. Sean Murphy bunting to Arizona helps the overall defense there, and he should be a really good cornerback. Awuzie on the Titans is interesting too. I mean, he's a good leader, good guy to get in the locker room.
Yeah, the thing with Awuzie, that's really the only name here that super interests me from a fantasy perspective, is that does he move back into the slot or is he an outside guy? And really, that's only for Roger McCreary. Like, what happens with him?
It seems like the Titans just like their slot cornerbacks because all of their cornerbacks have the ability to play in the slot. So
Yeah, McCreary is a top 8 fantasy corner, I think, if he is a slot guy, maybe even top 5. But
so Mr. Bakes a lot. Before we hop over to offense, had a put about Al-Shair, which I mean we touched on a little bit. Yeah, he's on the Texans. Good deal for Houston. Good deal for him.
Yep.
So
yep.
let's see. Should we hop over to the offensive side of the ball?
Yeah, let's go for it.
I say we should touch on Cousins quick and then kind of skip over quarterback and see if we come back to it. Other than Cousins, I don't really care as much for the most part.
Agreed.
He's stuck up for everyone on that offense. And then I'm curious to see what they do with pick 8. Because if I were them, I'm running to pick Dallas Turner there.
Absolutely. Dallas Turner, or trade back and pick up Terrion Arnold or Quinion Mitchell.
Like, yeah. I honestly, I think they're the ones that should be trading with Philadelphia. So that's for one of those. I'd try to get Reddick if I were them, but.
Oh, yeah, that'd be awesome.
I do think their young guys are developing well, though. Ebiketie should be a sleeper name, but yeah. So for
Zach
me,
Harrison looked pretty good back quarter of the year too.
So Cousins is back end top 12 probably, right? I don't think he's going too much higher than that, at least in drafts. He probably finishes higher than that if he's able to stay healthy, maybe 8-ish. He's Stafford basically with the Rams this past year, hopefully with a little better touchdowns. But if those touchdowns go to him, they don't go to Bijan, who's top 5 running back pick with his ability to catch the ball too. Assuming they give him the rock enough and it's not a split with Algier.
Hopefully not.
London, borderline. He's going to be roughly Garrett Wilson's ADP last year. Probably he's going to be everyone's breakout call as like a 2nd round redraft pick. And for anyone in Dynasty, don't try to trade for him now because it's like too late. You missed your window on that one.
Yep.
Pitts, top 5 tight end. This is wild to sit and go through this like this. I mean, that's roughly where you'd have to take him, I think. Everyone's going to be back on the Kyle Pitts breakout train. Yeah,
most likely.
And I really like, we'll touch on their recent receiver edition that you and I disagree on. So
we disagree more for real life than fantasy.
Yeah. So running back.
Do we want to hit the other quarterback names or not even worth it?
We can go back to it. I think the only other really want to note is Russ to the Steelers, which is a weird fit, but we'll get there.
Yeah. Running backs was fun this offseason.
Yeah. So everyone, I want to go on a little tirade on this one. I keep seeing people on X talking about, oh my God, the 2024 running back class is down bad if everyone's out here spending money on that. And then Darnell Mooney gets signed today, by the Falcons and signed for the same money as Saquon. And it's like, look, you can sign Darnell Mooney, who's probably like wide receiver, 60 on KTC, something like that, 50, 60, somewhere in there. Or you can sign Saquon Barkley, who's a top 5 NFL running back for the same money. Which one actually affects your ability to win a game? It's Saquon, easily. And then people are like, well, why are these teams going out and spending money on these guys? Because there's the top receivers are Calvin Ridley, Hollywood Brown, Darnell Mooney. What are we doing here with these people talking about the 2024 running back classes down bad? No, they are who we thought they were. They're going to be second-round picks in your rookie drafts that are going to go in the late second to third round. One of them's going to get picked by the Cowboys and going to be a star there. We're probably going to wind up with one in Houston backing up Mixon. We're going to wind up with one in Baltimore backing up Henry. Sorry, I'm breaking all of these running back guys that we're about to talk about. But people keep bringing up that the running backs going in the free agency like this is bad. No, one, they all want to make sure they get paid because last year none of them did. And two, who cares? This running back class is fine. There's no Bijan, there's no Gibbs. Oh well. Sorry.
So Darnell Mooney is wide receiver 77 on KTC.
Yeah, and he's getting the same money as the top 5, and he's getting the same money as the top 5 running back.
And he has 900 receiving yards in the last 2 years combined.
And then everyone's like, "Oh my goodness, the running backs are down bad." No. I mean, Calvin Ridley's going to get $20 million a year probably here when he signs, hopefully with the Patriots. Come on, Pats, let's do it. But sorry.
Yeah, it's silly. Yeah, I mean, Darnell Mooney, Gabe Davis got the same contract, more than Saquon, or just as much. Come on.
But people are like, "Oh my goodness, the running back class is terrible." It's no, these teams got $30 million extra. Not $30 million extra. It's $30 million more than last year, but it's a $10 or $15 million jump from what was expected for the cap. So teams have more money to spend. There's nobody to spend it on. That's why I was well, the Giants, they traded the 2 and a 5, but at the end of the day, who are you going to spend the money on? Really? Who's out there to spend money on? Exactly. That's what happened 3 years ago when the cap jumped. I think it was the COVID spike.
Yes.
The cap jumped unexpectedly, and a bunch of teams have money to burn, and all of those contracts turned out bad because nobody was available. I mean, look at the tagged guys. Everyone who could have gotten tagged got tagged pretty much because there was nobody to spend money on. And teams have to. I think it's a CBA requirement. You have to spend 95% of the cap over a 3-year window in cash outlay to the players. I don't know.
Yeah.
Good for the running backs.
Silly. It is. Good to see them actually get some money. Argue they still deserve more, but Saquon got a healthy deal. Josh Jacobs' deal with the Packers is really a 1-year deal, but still almost $15 million this year. Good for him. And he's someone who, if we talked about earlier, I still think if you can buy him still somewhat depreciated, go for it. But I don't know if you can. I doubt it.
So they're both borderline top 5 running backs this year, right?
Absolutely.
It's going to obviously depend on health, but that's roughly the price I would pay for either of them. CMC's 1. Then after that, I mean, you want to argue
Brees, Bijan, these two.
Brees, Bijan, Gibbs, Kyron, Jacobs, Saquon are kind of all in that tier to me next.
And I'm taking both these guys over Gibbs in redraft.
Yeah, he's still going to lose touchdowns. He's still going to lose touchdowns with Monty. Yep. Pollard, Tennessee, we kind of hit on a little bit. I do like it from an NFL perspective. For fantasy, he's an back end RB2 probably, and Spears is a RB3 flex type. Kind of gross, honestly, unless one of them gets hurt. Swift to the Bears makes no sense to me. I'll be perfectly honest. Everyone's like, "Oh my goodness, he's a check down option for Caleb." Have you gone and looked at Marshawn Lloyd's receiving lines in the USC this year? Caleb Williams holds the ball more than Justin Fields. Like he doesn't check down.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden
Yeah.
he's going to do that. I'm sorry, I don't see that. But
Honestly,
whatever.
I just expect him to be Khalil Herbert, really, like a faster Khalil Herbert.
It's weird because Herbert's a better runner though.
He is, but with the money, it's like
honestly, I'm out on the Bears backfield just in general. I'm not touching it this year.
yeah.
I liked Roschon. This kills his value.
I'm still holding Roschon in Dynasty, just being a stan, but
he is a hold because you can't trade him for anything. Like if anything, the only actionable piece I would have on this is if someone's going to sell Herbert super cheap, I'll buy him. And if someone's going to sell or buy Swift for a bag, then I'll sell him.
Yeah. I'm selling Swift. Actually, I don't have any Swift shares, so I'm not selling him.
Yeah.
But
we touched a little bit on Singletary to the Giants. Really like it. Reuniting with Dayball. He's going to be I think he'll be a cheap RB2 in drafts. He's going to be someone I'm going to have a lot of teams.
Yep. I think you could say similar for Zach Moss.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Moss and Chase Brown, I've seen a few people talk about this on X, is going to be the debate of the offseason. And I would fully expect it to be pretty disgusting, kind of like the Pollard and Spears one, except on a better offense. So I'll probably take a shot on whoever's cheaper. Just hope for an injury.
Yep.
Which is probably Moss because there's like a weird Chase Brown cult.
There really is, which is like, oh yeah, this is a thing.
Yeah. And when the Cincinnati Bengals, by the way, signed Zach Moss, they traded Joe Mixon, who was originally going to be cut, but they traded him to Houston, which is good for him. Bad for anyone still holding Damian Pierce and hoping he was actually going to do anything this year because he's not. And then they're going to draft someone.
Yep. Have we seen what was traded for Mixon yet?
Yeah, it hasn't come through. It's going to be not much.
It's going to be like a sixth.
Yeah, but the thing is it was a great deal because he's still only like $6 million for Houston. And Henry, who signed with Baltimore, great deal for him, got like $20 million over 2 years. So it's a good deal for Houston to go get Mixon cheaper than he would have been on the open market.
Absolutely.
And the last big one, well, there's a couple big ones, sorry. Aaron Jones to the Vikes. Love that, especially with Sam Darnold, who signed there, and they're probably going to trade up for J.J. McCarthy.
Or Drake May.
Nah, he's going to 3 to the Pats.
You'd better hope so.
I like the fit with Jones in Minnesota a lot.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Did we touch on Eckler? I don't think so.
No, he was the other one when I realized that I said one big name left and there's not.
Oh,
there were 2. Sorry, we kind of hit on Henry. Henry, love that one for the Ravens. He's probably a back end RB1, right?
Yeah, and a lot of people are saying that it doesn't matter, his fantasy stock's down because of Lamar. Gus Edwards signed with the Chargers. Love that as well. Gus had 13 touchdowns last year. Lamar had 5 rushing touchdowns. So don't worry about it.
Gus is a placeholder for when they draft like Blake Corum or somebody. He's there he's going to be annoying to start the year, and the other running back's going to take over whoever they draft.
Yep.
But hopefully he helps keep that value a little depreciated on whoever they draft. Eckler to the Commanders to take the job from Brian Robinson because he's a better player.
Yep.
Right.
I still think Eckler's not going to have like 100% or anything, but
yeah,
Eckler's still be annoying to him.
Eckler's a mid RB2. I mean, even the rumor is Jaden Daniels, especially now that they signed Marcus Mariota. Those two are very similar, and it would make a lot of sense to make Mariota the backup for Daniels versus making him the backup for Drake May. So,
yeah. Oh, Washington.
Yeah. Let's hit on this one before we hop to receiver, which not much has happened. But Christian Wilkins, love it.
Yep. Think you can expect similar, maybe 5% less from him and Max Crosby, what they've been. But love it.
Yeah. They're going to be an interesting defense. Hopefully they can get a cornerback 1 in there, and maybe a quarterback 1 because I'm not sold on Minshew or O'Connell.
I'm so happy Minshew's not in the Colts anymore. So happy.
They're the only Fields landing spot really left.
Yeah, he's going to be a backup.
I mean, yeah, if I'm Philly, if I'm Indy, if I'm who's the third one? Baltimore. Any of those three, I'd happily right now send like a day 3 pick.
Yes. Tampa Bay still, no, because the signed Baker and Justin Fields only has 1 year left. So yeah, there's not really a logical spot for him anymore.
I'm going. It's the Raiders, which makes no sense at all because Fields and Getsy already flopped. So I wouldn't want.
Honestly, I think Pittsburgh and Atlanta still make sense. Like, if you just they have an older starting quarterback and just he's not going to be expensive at this point. So
yeah.
Also is going around on Twitter that by some other fantasy people that they should just start Justin Fields this year and sit Caleb Williams. Absolutely ridiculous. Just absurd.
We got a breaker. Bears signed Gerald Everett, 2 years, $12 million. Interesting. Probably hurts Cole Kmet.
Yeah, maybe. Okay.
Receiver.
Yeah. Gabe Davis, Darnell $1 million contracts with Jenna. Don't remember which name I said first.
Bourne re-signed with the Pats. Good deal. They're Mooney and Gabe both got $11 million a year. Mooney is probably exactly what Atlanta needed. He's actually pretty comparable size, speed wise to Addison, honestly, as like the one opposite the alpha. And I don't hate it. I know you said 900 combined yards the last 2 years, but I think a year before that he put up like 1,100 or something.
Yeah,
there's
been injuries, but
player, and then he got hurt. So like, he's a late round dart throw that I will probably take in redraft.
And in a best ball league, he's a good player. Mooney and Gabe Davis, it's like it's too much money for both of them, but at the same time, the cap spiked. They fill a role that's needed on their teams, and then they're upside shots.
Are you paying what 14 probably for Hollywood at this point, or that 11 to Gabe, or then up to probably 20 for Ridley? And I think those are the only two that are clearly better, are Ridley and Hollywood, than those two.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm expecting someone. If Calvin Ridley were to say Calvin Ridley resigns with the Jaguars, I'm expecting the Pats to then pivot and send like a 6th round pick to Chargers for Mike Williams.
Yeah. I know you don't want to do this, but I definitely want Ridley back in Jacksonville. I think that makes the most sense for him, and I think it helps not unlock Gabe Davis, but I think it fits the offense better. Have Gabe Davis in the role so they don't try to use Calvin Ridley as an X. So
yeah, it helps that, but I mean, I would like to see Ridley in the Amari Cooper role from last year, and I mean, obviously Brissett and Cooper did well with Brissett in 2022. So I do think Ridley there would be fine for Ridley.
Yeah.
Judy got
some random team.
Yeah. Well, no, they reported it's down to just those two earlier. Judy for a 5 and a 6 to Cleveland. I'll be honest, I really don't care.
Makes my Cedric Tillman love sad, but that's about it.
Yeah. And then T. Higgins requested a trade, but that's going to be pretty gross, honestly, because the issue with T. Higgins and if Brandon Ayuk would need to be traded or whatever is, I think the depth and talent of the wide receivers is one, holding up the wide receiver market, because no one wants to overpay for a receiver when they know the draft's coming and the receivers are loaded there. And who's giving up what these teams want to then pay these receivers $25 million a year when I can draft one at the back end of round 1, top of round 2? Like,
the only one that really makes sense is like Carolina sending the pick they just got for Brian Burns at like 39 or whatever it is to
That was
for him,
something. That was something. Was it Jeremiah and Bucky Brooks said on their Move the Sticks pod? Basically, was
yeah, I've
that
heard it. I think Steve
Burns
was saying it too.
was
but-
basically they were saying Burns and T. Higgins should get swapped. Obviously, it's too late for that now, but like both teams would have benefited from that type of a deal.
It really would have.
That's it for wide receivers. Pretty
Yep.
gross. Yeah. Tight end is also pretty gross because Dalton Schultz went back to Houston, Henry went back to the Patriots, and left Noah Fant to be the top guy, who then chose to resign with Seattle. So,
Yep.
yeah.
Colby Parkinson signed a bigger deal with the Rams. Probably going to replace.
I assume Parkinson's going to start with Higbee hurt. Higbee tore his ACL like late in the year in the playoffs. So
it was the playoff game.
I think it hurts Davis Allen more than anything, and I'm guessing Parkinson's the starter. But.
Yeah. Drew Sample's back in Cincinnati. They added Mike Gesicki. Don't super care about either, honestly. Sample's probably a fine waiver wire fill-in if your tight end one is on bye week.
Yeah, they're not worth it, honestly, until unless T. Higgins is dealt.
Yeah.
Then you might actually see some value from that Cincy tight end room. Or, I mean, honestly, they might just draft Brock Bowers at that point. Disley to the Chargers, who cares? That's a pass or a blocking guy. Irv to KC. Everyone wants Irv to be a thing. He's not.
He's their tight end 3.
Yeah, he's behind Gray for sure. It's just depth. And Everett, like I said, probably just hurts Komet a little bit.
Yeah. I don't super understand that signing for them, especially 2 for 12. That's
the Bears have a lot of money to spend and nobody to spend it on.
I guess. I feel like just spend it on some random guard.
All right, we got a couple minutes left. Should we hop back up to quarterback? Do you want to touch a little bit on your thoughts on offensive line? I know I don't.
Yeah. I think it's just important to bring up. Carolina spent big money on 2 guards, and just their biggest issue and Bryce Young's biggest issue was that the middle of the pocket just collapsed every single play. This should help him. Were they both overpays? Yes, and that's for Robert Hunt and Damian Lewis, but solidifies the middle of the line, helps his development, makes me feel we've brought him up as a potential buy a few times, and that makes me feel better about it. The Rams just beefed up that interior. They re-signed Kevin Dotson, went out, spent big money on Jonah Jackson, moving Steve Avila to center, diversifies their run game a lot, helps them improve a lot. I think it's great for Kyron. And a big part of that as well is they spent a lot of money. And Justin mentioned this to me earlier that a lot of people were expecting the Rams to sign a running back, which has not happened and don't think would or should happen. Maybe draft one.
They might sign one cheap after but they were not going to play in the high end market. Like, why would you?
No. Yeah. So great for Kyron. Yeah. And Jags got a real center. Titans got a real center. Yeah, pretty much it. Just good for the quarterbacks. It's for Will Levis and Trevor Lawrence. It takes a lot of pressure off of them as like on the mental side, which will help them, which has helped a lot of quarterbacks. Saw it with Justin Herbert when they signed. Oh, what was the center's name? Lindsley helped him a lot, just taking some off his plate. So yeah, it's a plus.
So quarterback, let's hit on these quick. We're almost at our hour.
Yep.
So we touched on Cousins. Russ, the Steelers is the only other locked in pretty much starter. People can call it a competition all they want. If you've watched Russ and you've watched Pickett, like Russ is starting.
Russ may be the 20th best quarterback in the league, but Pickett's like 48th, so it's pretty easy.
Yeah, and I mean they were almost a playoff team with who they had last year. So
yeah,
I like the deal for Russ and for the Steelers. I don't know. It's good for Pickens. Probably bad for Frye. Probably bad for Deontay.
Who might get dealt as well.
Yeah, I mean, what Deontay? I know it's not the same offense, but tight ends didn't do much in Denver last year.
Or in Seattle ever.
Jerry Jeudy didn't do much last year, and Cortland Sutton did. And if you were to comp Sutton to DK Metcalf and to George Pickens, that's the same archetype.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's Pickens for me, is it, and it's good for him, especially if they move Deontay. The other interesting ones, the one that just broke lock to the Giants is interesting a little bit. I do think he's got a shot to compete with Jones and be someone. Brissett is going to start the year probably as the starter and may get the whole year. He was good a couple of years ago, 2022, with Alex Van Pelt as his OC in Cleveland. So good offensive scheme for Brissett. Kept them afloat while Watson served his suspension. Darnold, Vikings, like it, don't love it. I would say it's a good scheme fit for him. And Minshew to Vegas to compete with O'Connell makes sense too.
Yep.
Jameis in Cleveland, I don't think I care. They have to fix Watson. Like, there's 4 years left on his deal, fully guaranteed. 3 years left on his deal, fully guaranteed. Like, you can't get out of it. So, like, what does it matter?
Yeah.
And they keep just reworking it and pushing it on in the future.
Dead cap on Watson's deal is absurd. 136 if they were to cut him next year, 72 the year after, then 2027 they're $8 million. But yeah, we touched Mariota to Washington. But yeah, Minshew, Brissett, and Darnold are the other real names.
I'm taking a shot.
Also could have a rookie.
I'm taking a shot on Brissett of the three. Especially,
it's hard to say now, just with the draft, especially if May falls to 3.
I assume May is the one there, and they might sit him for a bit.
I would disagree with that, but you're obviously more plugged into the Pats. But May is also my QB1, so him falling to 3, I think, would be absurd.
He'd have a shot. He would have a shot, compete.
Mm-hmm.
But I would expect him to sit for half a year.
Yeah. Maybe. It'd be interesting. Yeah, and like all 3 of these teams are in the quarterback market. Any of them moving up to 2, honestly, to get whoever their quarterback 2 is, wouldn't shock me. So
if it's the Pats, it would shock me, but sorry.
You know what I mean.
No. I'd be really annoyed by that, to be honest, because we already don't have enough picks. So
yeah. And yeah, that pretty much does it. Like there's any new news breaking right now, so
I haven't got anything.
Yeah. Nope. Well, thank you guys for tuning in as always. We went a little over, but it was a blast. It's been a great first almost 30 hours, 6 hours of free agency. It's going to get crazier still. And yeah, we will see you same time, same place next week. So remember to go to idpguys.org. Now that we have transitioned to IDP Plus, we have a lot of tools, newsletter, great writers in the Discord. If you subscribe, have a lot of great articles coming up, recapping free agency, draft reviews, etc., etc. You can find Justin on X at FFFBallers and me at Jolo63. And yeah, thank you very much. May the force be with you.